Married here, and today I want to talk about an epidemic that I've seen where really high quality women, accomplished, beautiful, kind, awesome women, are going through the world just settling for what I would consider dregs as far as what they're putting up with in relationships. And my experience is mainly with heterosexual women in couples. So, not to say that this is the only experience, but what I'm speaking of is I would see not only in my friends, people in my family, in myself, in patients that I took care of, that there was this tendency for women who, in my view, were just stellar, putting up with a lot of mistreatment from men or feeling like they were going through the world almost like beggars. Just, I want somebody to love me. I don't even care who. And, I'll put up with anything just to have love and just to have a partner. And it's really sad, but it's the way that our society has sort of brainwashed us that, having a partner of any sort is better than being alone. And especially, I'm a woman of color, and they tell us things like there's more men in prison than, good men out there, that kind of stuff. And it messes with you to the point where you put up with a lot of stuff that you wouldn't if you felt like there was no scarcity of good men out there. And so, even for myself, I would know after a few weeks of dating somebody that they weren't the type of person that I wanted to be with, but I would put up with a lot of things just because the idea of being single was so painful to me. And I felt so lonely when I was single. But the way that I felt in these partnerships made me feel even worse. It felt like, he's not even of the caliber that I'm looking for, and he still doesn't want to be with me. And that feels even worse than being alone a lot of times. And I'm not even saying this has anything to do with social status or money or, what kind of job they had or anything like that. It's really things like the way I was being treated in relationships, treated as though I didn't matter. People not showing up when we had plans together, breaking plans at the last minute, or even things like I would be dating somebody and then, they would just disappear for a period of time to the point where I was 100% sure they were dead. And then 3 weeks later, they would just kind of resurface and be like, hey, what's up? And I would go through all sorts of crazy stuff in my mind and then be like, hey, what's up? And it's like, what are you doing? But it's stuff that I would be embarrassed to tell other people, other, women. I would be embarrassed to share these things, that I put up with certain things like that. Much worse sometimes. But it all stemmed from the fact that I wasn't comfortable being alone. I felt like a loser when I was alone, even though I was so accomplished in my career and well liked by most people I know. I just felt like I had to settle for this stuff because there weren't good men out there. And I had to change that mindset in order to be able to find a good man. I was dating somebody who was, in a lot of ways way better than anybody else I had dated before, but our lifestyles were different, and there were certain things in the relationship that weren't acceptable to me, but I put up with because I was afraid that there was nothing better out there. And when I finally decided that even if there wasn't anything better out there, this was unacceptable to me, and then started making changes in my life, putting fun things back into my life, like hobbies that I had fallen away from. Very quickly, I found somebody much better, and within 2 years, I was married. To just, I can't imagine a better partner. But if I had just settled for what I was in, I would have found him. And you probably wouldn't have convinced me the year before that it was even possible, because it had not been my experience that I could be treated this well. And so, but also I developed the skills to be able to maintain my boundaries so that I guaranteed that I would be treated this well or leave. Like early on, I made it clear these are my standards, not going to back down from them. And he was more than willing to oblige as far as respecting my standards and boundaries and all that stuff. And that's what you'll experience if you find the right kind of person for you. But also just the excuses that we give ourselves. We bought a puppy together, or I like his kids, or I like his family, or he came to, one of my family members' funerals. That was one of my reasons for staying with the guy for 5 years is, oh, he came to my grandfather's funeral, so he must love me. What? Nothing else that he's doing looks like love, but he came to a funeral. Big day, big deal. And culture, our popular culture really reinforces that scarcity of men thing, that whole Lady Gaga song, I've got 100 million reasons to walk away. Baby, just give me one good one to stay. I'm like, really? One good reason? That's crazy. Or, give me one reason to stay here. I'll turn right back around. And it's not helpful. It creates that feeling that we're just stray cats, and if you just feed us the tiniest little bits of leftovers, that we'll keep returning for more. And that's what I see in a lot of people. I've and so many excuses for why. It's like, oh, well, we have fun once a month, and so for the rest of the month he can mistreat me, or the sex is good, or he's the only person that accepts me as I am and is not trying to change me, but doesn't treat me very well, and it's not that satisfying to me. We get to have what we want in a relationship. We get to feel good. We get to be with partners that treat us as goddesses and queens and love us deeply and nourish our souls. And we don't have to put up with a bunch of BS. Even as a professional woman, there was this, I'm so busy, with work and stuff like that, that it's a hard ask for, it's a tall order for a man to love me because of my schedule. And so that was one of the reasons why I would put up with some stuff, is that, oh, well, not every man is going to be able to deal with my kind of schedule. And so any person that is a saint or something like that. And so I would overlook a lot of things, and the fact that I wasn't getting what I needed out of the relationship just because I felt like this was a big ask for any man to love somebody with a schedule like mine. Also, a high earning woman, it's like this whole idea that being a professional, high power woman, it takes a certain kind of man to be able to put up with that because it's emasculating. And I don't know a lot of people where the woman is high earning, and maybe that's off-putting to men, and so either I have to like pretend like I'm making less than I am, or kind of dumb myself down, or make myself look less powerful in order to make a man comfortable. So I see a lot of that kind of thing going on in society too. But just something to think about. Think about the way you're wanting to be treated by a partner, and you get to have that. That is not too big of an ask. And you can hold your standard. You actually attract a higher quality man because you hold your standard, because you make it clear how you wish to be treated. And, don't go back on that. Just, this is not that you have to be so harsh, but if somebody oversteps your boundary to correct them and say, no, this is not okay with me. When you say you're going to call, I expect you to call, and that's not okay with me, those kinds of things. And that's when you get a better relationship. That's when you feel honored and loved and supported and taken care of. And that's, to me, the whole point of being in a relationship. So just something to think about. But it is possible, and we do get to have all that, and we don't have to play, basically play ourselves in order to get love. You know, we don't have to be beggars with a tin cup out there trying to get any little, offering that is out there. We can hold out for epic love. That's out there. It's possible, and it takes some effort on our parts, but it's worth it in the end. So that's all I have for today. Feel free to comment below and subscribe. And I have more interesting topics on my blog if you go to reneehilliard.com. So I'd love for you to do that. And I'll talk to you next time.